So now we just read in Genesis the 37th chapter how his brethren, Joseph's brethren, asked him, "Are you gonna reign over us?" In verse 9, they say, and it says, and he dreamed yet another dream and told it to his brethren and said, "Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sons." Well, verse 8, excuse me. And his brethren said to him, "Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us?" And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. So now they say, "You're not reigning over us." Now, even this other one, when he says, and he dreamed, well, let's pick it up back in John, the 19th chapter, because you can go even deeper in that. But John, the 19th chapter, verse 15. He said, "But they cried out, away with him, crucify him. Pilate said unto them, Shall I crucify your king?" Now he said, "He the king. Am I going to crucify your king?" The chief priest answered. Now the chief priest answered, "We have no king but Caesar." Now these Hebrews claiming Caesar over the Messiah. If you're the chief priest, you know who this man was. You know who he was. They knew who he was. Let's go to let's go. So now they didn't want him to rule over them. Okay. So now understand he's a servant. Now let's go to Genesis the 39th chapter and see what happens to him while he's a servant. Genesis the 39th chapter, and I'm gonna pick it up at verse 7. It's because he's in Potiphar's house, he's been purchased. It says, "And it came to pass," even when you think about that, brothers and sisters, even he was sold for 20 pieces of silver. The Messiah, his price was 30 pieces of silver. The price of a servant or a slave. They betrayed him with that though. But Judas did. But Genesis 39 and verse 7. "And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph. And she said, Lie with me." So now Potiphar's wife has eyes for Joseph. But Joseph, being a righteous man, it said, "But he refused and said unto his master's wife, Behold, my master watereth or knoweth not what is with me in the house. And he hath committed all that he had to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee." So I have everything. But he says, your husband don't even know what's going on, really, in a sense, because he just put everything in my hands to control. Okay? Here, see, if you got a servant like that, you really don't have to worry about anything. It's taken care of. It's taken care of. He said, he give me what I need because of that. And only thing he's withheld from me is you. So he said, there is none greater in this house than I. Neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, but because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? How am I sin against God? Because that's adultery. And it came to pass that she spake to Joseph day by day. So he's tempted. Or she's trying to tempt him. That he hearkened not unto her, to lie by her or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. He wasn't even trying to be with her. He left. Why? Don't say because she was unattractive. He said because he wasn't trying to sin against God. Now, he was tempted. Now let's go to Hebrews and see something about the Messiah. See, again, this book is pointed to him, brothers and sisters. This is not just for good reading. Hebrews, the 4th chapter. And we're going to pick it up in the 15th verse. Because he was tested, he was tried, he was tempted. It says, For we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling. Now, the high priest we have is the Mashiach, or the Messiah, that's sitting on the right hand of the Father making intercession. It says, For we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities. See, we don't have a high priest that can't relate to what we go through. Why? It says, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. So just like he didn't sin, he got him out, right? He was tempted. Even Satan came unto him directly, just like he came unto Adam. See, he had to be tempted. He was tempted just like us, but he did no sin. Okay, now let's go back to Genesis, the 39th chapter, because even though he did no sin, even though Joseph didn't do any wrong here, he is what? Falsely accused. Genesis, the 39th chapter and the 17th verse. It says, and she spake, talking about Potiphar's wife. And she spake unto him according, I'm picking up verse 14. It says, verse 13. And it came to pass when she saw that he had left his garment. We just read how he fled and got out. So it says, and it came to pass when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, see, he hath brought in Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. So now she acted like she the victim, right? She shed tears. She lying, no. She was the aggressor. She is the one trying to sleep with Joseph, and he don't want any parts of that. So she said, okay, I'll show you. I'm going to accuse you of rape. That's what she's doing. And it came to pass when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. And she laid up his garments by her until his Lord came home, and she spake unto him according to these words, saying, a Hebrew servant, which thou hast brought unto us, came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. Okay, so now he heard this and he's mad. Potiphar's mad, but he probably, well, you know the character of your wife. Your wife ain't just did that. But nevertheless, now let's go to Matthew the 26th chapter, because this servant, the servant of servants, he was falsely accused. Matthew the 26th chapter and the 60th verse. Matthew 26 and verse 60. Well, I'm going to pick it up at verse 59. It said, now the chief priests and elders and all the council saw false witness against Jesus to put him to death. See, so now he's falsely accused, just like Joseph was falsely accused. And what are they saying? But found none, yea, though many false witnesses came, yet found they none. At the last came two false witnesses. And you know, by 2 or 3 witnesses let the truth be established. But now you got 2 false witnesses. And it says in verse 61, and said, this fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and to build it in 3 days. Okay. Then it said, and the high priest arose and said unto him, answerest thou nothing? What is it that which these witness against thee? Let's go to Isaiah 53rd chapter. Okay, so now, you know, he said but understand what he was talking about. He was talking about his body, which is what happened. 3 days and 3 nights he was in the grave. We read that in Matthew 12. So now that matter of fact, I should have read this when I was there in Matthew 26. Matthew 26. See, because sometimes you could say something about somebody or say they said something. And if you don't have context, you could just say the words they said. If you don't know context, then you can make them out to say something that they're not saying, inadvertently or on purpose. But it says in verse 63, but Jesus held his peace. Okay, so now he held his peace. Isaiah 53rd chapter. And I want to pick it up at verse 7. It said he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before his shearers is dumb. So he opened not his mouth. This is not for just good reading, brothers and sisters. So now he's been falsely accused and found guilty of something that he didn't do. Let's go back to Genesis 39th chapter, because we read that Potiphar was angry, right? Or if we didn't, we're about to read it now. Genesis the 39th chapter and verse 19. It says, and it came to pass when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, after this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. Now you got this man, this righteous man. Now he's been rejected by his brethren. He's been cast into, servitude. He's been regulated to servitude. Now he's been cast into prison. And it says, and Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison. And whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. Okay? The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. Now he's in prison. Okay? Now let's go to because he's amongst some criminals. Let's go to Luke, the 23rd chapter. Luke, the 23rd. As a matter of fact, we read Isaiah. Let's go back to Isaiah. Isaiah, the 53rd chapter. Then we go to Luke. Isaiah, the 53rd chapter, and verse 9, concerning the Messiah that was to come into the world. It said, and he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. But why he make his grave with the wicked? Because he died between two thieves. Luke, the 23rd chapter. Luke, the 23rd chapter, we want to pick it up at verse 33. What does it say about him? And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, there they crucified him and the malefactors, one on the right hand, on the other on the left. He made his grave with the wicked. He in there with a bunch of thieves. He in there with people that did wrong, but he didn't do any wrong. Same thing with Joseph, right? Same thing with Joseph. Same thing with Joseph. Let's go to let's see. Let's go back to Genesis. And we're gonna pick it up at